Hi and welcome to this week's WoW Flash, and invites for the alpha have finally gone out to the point where people are allowed to openly stream what's going on in alpha and talk about what's going on in alpha, and sad panda, I'm not in. So I'm going to have to change my plans in terms of how I cover it. There is always a chance that I could potentially get in just randomly. I mean, I'm signed up to the beta, so just as with each wave, there's always a few people who randomly get in. That may happen. But in the meantime, I will try and cover things as best I can from the outside. I'm going to have more details of that at the end of the video. So, in terms of other news, Tiffin Rin's plaque, the mysterious missing plaque, the former Queen of Stormwind, on her memorial had a plaque and it's gone, it disappeared, and there was uproar. Everyone is hunting the gnome responsible. Turns out it wasn't a gnome that was responsible, however, it's just one of the casualties of patch 7.3.5. Blizzard have sort of acknowledged this now. They're going to work to put it back. They say they don't have an ETA on when that will happen, but it's, you know, in the process of. So if anyone else spots anything that seemed to have disappeared during patch 7.3.5, it may have been accidental. Make sure you report it. In terms of, again, coming back to the old alpha news, so Dark Iron Dwarfs and Zandalari, there's a bit more information has come out about those. Dark Iron Dwarfs, the racials have been revealed. Some good ones here. Dungeon Delver. While indoors you move 4% faster. That'd be quite handy, I would have thought, for Mythic Plus. They should really make the gnomes move slower. What about if instead of just racials being buffs, what about if we had some penalties as well? How about that? How about that? Gnomes, diminutive. Minus 30% movement speed, minus 30% to your primary stat. Let's see how many people play gnomes then. Yeah. Class fantasy. Race fantasy. Fireblood removing poison, diseases, curse, magic, blah blah bleeds effects. A little similar to Stoneform, except with this one, increases your primary stat by a certain amount for each effect that's removed, lasts 8 seconds, 2-minute cooldown. That sounds fairly handy on a number of fights. That could well be quite useful. Forged in Flames reduces damage taken from physical attacks by 1%. Mass production. Items created by blacksmithing are created twice as quickly. A little bit of a profession bonus there. And mole machine. While outdoors, you can summon a mole machine that tunnels through the earth. 3-second cast, 30-minute cooldown. I have no idea what happens with this mole machine, though. I haven't looked that up. I'm sorry. I will do later. Been very busy at work this week, so I'm just literally reading this off MMO Champion. Sorry about that. But it's another example, though. Really interesting racials, just from a neutral point of view. You know, that's, you know, they're showing a bit of, you know, a bit of like creativity there. But again, it just worries me about the old allied races arms war with the racials. You know, they're not just creative, because like the blacksmithing one is a classic example of creative. It's not just +5 to your blacksmithing skill like typical professions are. It's like, does it a bit quicker. A bit like the herbalism, I think, for druids, isn't it? So, but the other ones are just straight up powerful. I mean, an increase to movement speed, well, that's always good for PvE and PvP alike. The Fireblood, the improved Stoneform thing, that sounds really good as well. You know, the reduction to physical attacks. Okay, various people get reduction to some types of damage. It just sounding a little bit, that's going to be tempting. It's going to be tempting. I mean, I'll be looking at it, I'm going to be honest, I'll be looking at it as a paladin, thinking, maybe in BfA, I only say maybe, maybe I should be a Dark Iron Paladin. There isn't a full list of classes available yet. We only know Paladin because, you know, that has been revealed by Blizzard. But it's not been data mined as yet. However, for Zandalari Trolls, that has been data mined. Now, they can be the following races. Druids we knew about because they talked about the different druid forms with Zandalari Trolls. They look absolutely awesome. I would definitely be thinking, you know, if I'm going to be having a horde character, obviously I'd have to have 2 because I'd have to do all the quests and stuff to unlock them. A Zandalari Druid sounds like a nice idea. Also, Hunter, Mage, Priest, Rogue, Shaman, Warlock, and Warrior. Now, just a general point here, I'm going to do a more complete video on this. Don't forget, though, anything that's like in the alpha beta is not set in stone. So if you have feedback, then I was asked today, someone asking in a Discord, how do you give feedback? The best place to give feedback, of course, you can discuss these things on various forums, Wowhead, MMO Champion, your own Discords, blah, blah, blah. Great. But if you really want to provide feedback directly to Blizzard, best places to do it are the official forums, as distressing as that might sound to some people, and by tweeting the Warcraft devs at the @WarcraftDevs handle on Twitter. Those are the way to get feedback through. And of course, encourage like-minded people to do the same. Now, the next one is, again, a lot of people looking at those Fox people races and going, oh, it's looking like a player race. They've done it in the way they do for player races. It must be. They're thinking about making an allied race soon. Not necessarily. Blizzard have again reiterated, they've said this before. They said in their own words, I'm going to read it exactly what they say. As we mentioned, when race information for Lightforge, Draenei and Void Elves was data mined during blah blah blah, we found that setting up certain races as if they were player characters can be highly advantageous for NPC customization in story content. So, in other words, when there's a particular NPC race that they want to do a lot of, like with cutscenes and stuff like that, it gives them more flexibility if they put it into the game as if it were a player race. But it's not. And it doesn't mean to say it's ever going to be. We're not necessarily going to get Fox people. We may, and again, feedback, if people want that, you know what you have to do. Let Blizzard know, en masse. But it doesn't necessarily mean, it doesn't follow that they're thinking about it for the future. This isn't them putting something in the game just in case they decide to do it later on. This is for other reasons. Doesn't mean to say they won't, though. There were a few buffs, so a few specs got some buffs and one got a nerf. Beastmaster Hunters were buffed slightly this patch. I say patch, I meant reset. Mages, Fire Mages were also buffed a little bit. Affliction Warlocks nerfed a little bit, only a little bit. Really seems to be just affecting the old dot. I think it's to rein them in on fights like Coven, really. I think you can still expect them to be an extremely strong spec. So no real worries about that one, no harm, no foul. And that's pretty much it for the news for this week in terms of general terms. Obviously, there's a lot of alpha-related news, which I'll be picking through and doing videos on over the weekend and over the next week. From the outside, I'm afraid. Just a little bit of channel news. So, streaming schedule will be slightly different this week. I wasn't able to stream yesterday because I was late at work. And I won't be able to stream this Saturday at the normal time either. I may put on a stream Saturday evening though, but I'll leave that last minute to decide that. I'll hopefully be able to say sometime earlier on Saturday whether I will or not. A good idea to follow me on these things is with Twitter, so I'll sort of give out information on Twitter and things like that, as well as on YouTube. Now, for those who don't use Twitter, I know there's a lot of people who don't use Twitter but would like notification, things like that. I'm going to expand things a little bit. So next week, I'm going to be creating a Facebook page and an Instagram account. I've got a plan for them, by the way, not just random posts every now and then. So for daily updates on them. But I'm going to talk more about that at the weekend. I'm going to do a subscriber report. So people who are interested in the channel, make sure you check that out the weekend. I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. Thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, give it a like, subscribe, thumbs up, the usual stuff. Thanks for supporting the channel. And until next time, I'll see you later.